Namaste. Many miles away from the hustle bustle of one of the busiest cities of India, Kolkata, nestled among nameless streets and numberless homes in the outskirts of the city is a beautiful art space named Spanda. Spanda is a part of Chidakash Kalalay, a center for arts and divinity founded by Piyal Bhattacharya. Piyal, as he is lovingly addressed, is a man of many talents and a visionary in a true sense. Piyal is a director, musician, dancer, research scholar, performer, teacher, fashion designer, and a sculptor par excellence, and this is only a cursory list of his manifold talents. I've had the good fortune of knowing Piyal for the last 3 years as his student. He initiated me into the study of Natyashastric through a highly immersive online distance learning program. Before I met Piyal, I had been learning and practicing the Karanas for several years, but my mind was filled with questions and had been on the lookout for someone who could help me find answers to my quest. What started out as a simple quest has led me on a difficult but highly satisfying path of a thorough, in-depth study of not just the Natyashastra but several related texts and commentaries. This has been possible because of Piyal, his utter dedication towards teaching and single-minded focus on creating a one-of-a-kind teaching pedagogy that will help revive and re-establish an entire knowledge system that has been lost in the pages of history. For reasons I will never know, I have been blessed with this incredible learning experience. So much so that I feel a great sense of responsibility and duty in furthering Piyal's vision of reviving a lost knowledge system. I recently visited the Spanda art space and spent 6 days with Piyal and his students Shayak Mitra, Shubhendu Ghosh, Deep, Pinky Mondal and Shritama. I would like to share my journey of learning under Piyal as well as my experience from the incredible stay at Kolkata as a way to throw light on the work that they do at Chidakash Kalalay and more importantly their vision for arts and arts research. For the longest time, I viewed Indian dance in isolation from the philosophical and speculative thought that governs the land. This often leads to a gross misunderstanding of dance and largely conflicts with our modern thoughts and lifestyle. Piyal's approach to teaching is hardly gross. He attempts to build a historical, sociological, anthropological, and philosophical framework around the practice of dance and Natya. My curriculum involved learning the fundamentals of Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Advaita, Shaivism and Natyashastra. After being put through such an immersive curriculum, the progression in my art form from a gross practice to a realized one was palpable. Every time I stepped into a studio to practice, I viewed myself as a living, breathing, pulsing entity that had both an organic as well as a psychical quality. I ceased to think of movement as purely physical. A conscious practice emerges with a deep understanding of the inner mechanics of the mind and body. No amount of physical practice alone can provide a clear understanding of this. Piyal opens the door to the vast literature on philosophy and speculative thought from India to help a student make these connections. When philosophical and anthropological ideas are well established, and then merge with a practical form, then it becomes easier to trace the relationship between movement, visual appeal, rapture, and human experience. Piyal's pedagogy is something I have never experienced in my decades of practice. While most schools are stuck in the item trap of learning and teaching choreography, Piyal is interested in teaching a student the true nature of dance. Once this knowledge reveals itself, choreography and performance become secondary. You become a seeker of true knowledge, understand the value of practice, and relish the process of movement. Kapila Vatsyayan, in her book The Square and Circle of Indian Arts, identifies some common ideas on Indian speculative thought. First is that India is a world-denying culture, thus otherworldly. A second viewpoint is that matter and senses are as important as the spirit. Piyal's teaching pedagogy helps students explore each of these viewpoints not just in theory but practically as well. We explore the idea of otherworldliness through the practical application of dance units called Karanas and Rechakas in Natya, which instantly catapults Natya from gross to transmundane. We explore matter and senses along with spirit while trying to build emotion into a Karana movement and then apply it in Natya to evoke an emotional response from the viewer. So, if one needed to practically understand the relationship between art and Indian speculative thought, Chidakash is, in my opinion, the only institution in India that provides such a deep learning. I would like to share my observations about a day in the life of students at Chidakash Kalalay who live and breathe art day in and day out. They stand as tall examples of how art should be practiced as a lifestyle. Chidakash is founded on the idea of a Gurukul where students live and practice together. Their mornings are filled with shared responsibilities that include cooking, cleaning, running errands, walking the dog, and preparing for the day. While I would quietly observe the activity in the household, the hum of the tanpura, the fragrance of dhoop, and of course the occasional clangor of a street vendor could not be missed. Away from city noises, Chidakash is set in a quiet and peaceful place where one can easily withdraw from this busy world and escape into a wonderland of art. Just as I was counting the number of instruments in the room one day, I heard Shayak, one of Piyal's students, tuning his Rudraveena. The next minute, I was seated next to him and found myself completely drawn and immersed in his music, which was calm and peaceful, befitting its ethos. The only thing that could shake me from this rapture was the smell of dosa, chutney and sambar. My South Indian senses tingled as another student brought me yummy food prepared lovingly by Piyal himself. One cannot miss the artistic touch in how the food is prepared, presented and served, for everything is art at Chidakash. As breakfast was coming to a close, I observed all the students getting ready for a class. Pinky, one of the senior students of Piyal's, had helped cook, clean and now draped herself in a beautiful sari in preparation for a class. Everyone was dressed in immaculately ironed and draped cotton or linen clothes, blending organically with the overall ethos of the space. This was a striking contrast to what I observed on the streets of Kolkata, with many people wearing Western wear, including denim in the fiery hot weather. I mention this because every aspect of the Chidakash lifestyle is intrinsically Indian. In my opinion, adopting an Indian lifestyle is the first and foremost requisite for the practice of Indian art. Speculative thought is embedded even in the manner that the food is prepared and consumed, how the clothes are made and draped, and it should not be viewed in isolation from the practice of dance. This purview is something everyone at Chidakash fully embodies. Observing a dance class at Chidakash immediately reveals the basic intention and purpose of the institution. As mentioned before, Piyal's main interest is to revive a knowledge system. Reviving a knowledge system is a lofty goal and cannot be achieved by one person alone. Hence, he works tirelessly to help every student realize the connections between speculative thought and praxis. The dance class is a continuous and arduous effort to teach both subjects in tandem. A line of the commentary gets read and analyzed, followed by multiple interpretations offered by students. Then, each of the interpretations find an agency through the body in the form of a new movement, and the end result is a layered understanding of Shastra and related texts through both theory and praxis. In many ways, I find this approach to closely resemble contemporary dance. Only difference being that thousands of years of speculative thought provide a strong base to the practice of Indian art, while contemporary dance is still struggling to find its footing in the philosophy that drives it. 6 days went by and I was immersed in art every waking hour of the day. At the end of it, I could already feel a shift in my orientation. I felt withdrawn, free, and blissful. I could sense a slight detachment in the things I normally indulge in on a daily basis. I only wanted to indulge in more music, more dance, and more thought-provoking discussions. If 6 days of being in the environment can affect me to this extent, I can only imagine how a constant immersion and engagement with art has affected the students that live there. What Piyal has built, along with his wonderful students, is inspiring to say the very least. These beautiful set of talented and loving people are carving the way for more people to come, learn, work and contribute to the field of Indian arts and its glory. If you're a student of classical Indian dance or theatre, I urge you to check out Chidakash Kalalay. Wishing everyone at Chidakash all the very best.